Hey, Rigsters here, now with a completely different game and one that I have very fond memories with, Need for Speed Pro Street. Pro Street was a game that was made back in 2007. I used to play this game on the Nintendo Wii and DS almost every other day back when it was new. And that's how much I loved this game. The game's not flawless. It comes after one of EA's high watermark series, starting with Most Wanted, Carbon, and then this in the chronological order. It's basically a racing game. It instead of doing racing on the virtual streets and stuff, you now do it on racetracks. And for some people, it was a little bit off-putting. The tuning is a bit better than the other two in the past in some ways, but not perfect, of course. There's always room for improvement. And so for this video, I'm just going to show some career play of what I was working on. Okay, so there was a lot of differences between this computer version, the Wii, and DS. The computer version, of course, has the best graphics. It has some different cars than the Wii and DS, depending on DLC and stuff, because this game did come with DLC for its time. I'm not aware if the multiplayer actually ever works for this game anymore, but I guess it was okay back then. I never played multiplayer in either of the three editions. I'm started off with after the first prologue race, where you start off in the Nissan 240SX, and you're doing the challenge. Quote unquote, this is like the first one called Battle Machine, so you get your own, you don't use your own car for this. Let's do some drag races in the provided Honda Civic. This is a car they provide, as long as you don't wreck and total them. Well, I mean, you can repair them, but you don't get many in the beginning. Now, unlike the Wii and DS version, you get 25 total progressive repair and insurance ones. In the Wii and DS version, you only get 20. The gameplay is very similar to the Wii and DS. It's just the graphics and interface are a bit either smaller or bigger depending on how you look at it. The DS version of this game actually had one interesting thing, and that interesting thing was it had a music mode where your car would bounce on hydraulics and you would mash buttons to match the tune of the song. The Wii and PC version do not have this mode, as far as I'm aware of. So, drag mode is pretty simple and straightforward. You just mash the throttle and match the green bars with the button presses. Particularly for this game, I'm using a Xbox One style controller. It works fine. I had to remap some of the buttons a little bit, but it took it just fine. The graphics, of course, are actually not too bad, but by today's standards, of course, people want always more. But it runs smooth. This is on maximum graphics, by the way. This is actually one of the few times I've done recording with the max preset enabled by default, because that's how old this game is. And of course, eventually you get better cars in this game. It just takes a while. It's very easy in the beginning. I mean, unless if you're really new to racing games, it may provide some challenging things, because this was back when racing games were more old school. So it's not like you instant win all the time. I just make it look easy because I've played this game for years. Career 01, if you're a Sharp Eye viewer, saw that was a solo playthrough that I did off camera just to see if there was any other changes to note. One other nice thing about the PC version is there's a lot more people in the crowd, and there is a guy that blabs in the background. The DS and Wii version, I believe, do not have that. At least it's detailed. And if you let the camera, if you idle and you just let the camera do its thing, it will eventually pan to what people are doing around there. It's pretty neat. So I almost quote unquote beat this challenge. You can track it with race day progress, which is up here. It'll show you like your current score, points to dominate, which is what you usually want to do. You want to usually dominate so you get extra rewards, money, and sometimes parts. It's a random luck of the draw boxes, which is kind of ironic considering today's genre of games really use that, but you pay real life money for. And there's many different modes to do. I'm going to do a grip race. Alright, so grip races basically is racing on a circuit. Grip heads up basically means anything goes. You bring your car and the game tries to match it somewhat close, but they use a lot of different cars. There's also time attack mode where you get the fastest time attack, and sector shootout where you try to get the fastest time in various sectors of the map. Which is not bad, it's pretty straightforward. Now you might be wondering, well, what mode am I racing on? I am playing now on, for assist, all but traction control off. And the assist I have to king. There's casual. If you find the car sliding too much and you don't know car control yet, or just want an easier time. Racers in between, that's what I've been doing. So now I'm doing king, and I find that I get faster lap times with king because it allows for more wheel slippage. Now this game does punish you when you bonk into things or cars, just like it did there, because I was trying to explain something. Now if you get light damage, it's not the end of the world. You do have to pay a fine at the end of the race, or you can use a repair marker to repair it for free. I find I usually don't run out of those because I'm more experienced with these kind of games, so it's not really ever been a serious problem for me. There's also drifting in this game, which is not in this particular challenge. And there's also high speed challenge, which was the most controversial mode of this game, of the Need for Speed series. It's very tricky to explain because I would have to dedicate probably another video to that. It is, in my opinion, actually the most challenging and rewarding mode because you get paid a lot if you finish successfully. Those you will crash and wreck and use quite a lot of tokens if you're not familiar with it, or in my case, I was not used to the physics. The physics of the PC edition are a bit better than the Wii, and especially the DS version, because it's not as forgiving with the controller input. If you're not smooth with it, it'll punish you harder. Which makes sense. And of course this race is easy. I mean, it's all the same car, and I've done this course a billion times, so it's not like I have any problems with it. Very simple, very easy, very straightforward. Now, if I didn't have, which is his here, clean race bonus, which means it didn't bulk into cars or solid objects, you get more score points, and if you beat the target time, you get an extra bonus points based on how fast you've beaten that. And cash, well, it's pretty minuscule in the beginning. You do not get paid very much. So you dominate C, you get 5,000. And this is where you can choose a reward. Oh, good. That actually was a good roll. 10 grand? That would definitely help. And for the first time you complete these, you can never I don't think you can ever replay this particular challenge again. I think this is the one where you can't do that. I don't know. What do I want to pick? I want to try the Civic. I'm going to do that. And then you unlock these side races. It's a little kind of hard to see on my main screen, but you can see it on my secondary monitor that's recording this. Much easier. To me, the weird yellow and green on PC screens, yeah, it could be worked on. But that's how they did it for this game. It's easier to see on a DS and Wii screen, for sure, because when you look at it at a high-res monitor, it's very hard to read. The blinking light, that is. So with that, let's go to the garage. Now that I skipped that intro, so this game, when you start a new career mode, it always does that starter thing. So what it was basically going to blab to basically tell you about is that you need one car for each discipline. Now, you can have multiple copies of the same car. I have actually done that in some solo sessions years ago where I actually used the same car in each race discipline. But that's only possible with rear-wheel drive cars, because you can't drift with all-wheel drive or front-wheel drive in this game. Although in real life, all-wheel drive cars can be tuned to be very slidey, but this was before all-wheel drive really allowed you to slip as much as a rear-wheel drive car, which makes sense for its time period. So it gives you like preset cars here, which I have, of course, the starter 240SX and the starter Honda Civic. That way you can do drag races and grip, which is circuit racing. You can also go to the car lot. Now, since I was informed that when I got this game that there is DLC, I don't know how to get the DLC for this game, since I'm pretty sure the internet functionality is destroyed because it's from 2007. I highly doubt that's actually going to do anything. There's 57 cars, and they come in various tiers and horsepower and configurations and all that. One thing's for sure, though, I would quickly advise not to buy, especially at the start of the game. Where was it? There was a card that I did try that just flat out was terrible when you first start out. I think it was this. The RSX is not worth your money. I mean, you can tune it up, but it costs you more parts than what it's worth. The Integra Type R is way better. But you can't even unlock it yet because you have to beat challenges. So let's get into tuning real quick here. I'm going to tune the Honda because I want to get some better performance out of it. So I'll do custom upgrades. Let's see what engines it has here. So I think I got myself ahead of time. There's one thing you do not want to do. You do not want to do these packages. They are not worth the money because they pre-package garbage and junk. It's there if you don't want to spend the time to customize it or optimize it cost-effective wise, but they're not worth it. What you want to go to instead is custom upgrade. And they give you tooltips on basically what these parts do. Like engine, of course, increases power and torque. Gearboxes, faster shift times, and more tunable gear ratios. Supercharger and turbocharging, you can increase power through either like more torque end through supercharging and turbo through more high end. Suspension is important in drifting and grip, and also actually speed challenge. Brakes are only important in grip, but you can use it to cheese drag times a little bit. Tires are extremely important in all modes. You definitely want tires. If anything all is equal, tires is the biggest upgrade you can do cost-effective wise. Nitro is optional in some modes, like drift. You usually don't need that, but since it's not a drift card, that's not a problem. Now, there is one other thing you can do to upgrade your performance without worrying about cosmetics, is the body. If you go to body, and then you go to, say, body kit and spoiler. Let's go to the body kit here. You can do, let's see here, stock auto sculpt, which does a little more aero. Or you could do these various straddle speed formulas that change the look of your car and aerodynamics. Of course, the best one being the wide body, which makes sense. And spoiler. Now, spoiler is not always useful in certain modes, but it can help for, say, grip and top speed runs mode. But drag and drifting, it's very situational. They're not really needed for those modes. But you can equip all sorts of different spoilers. The more expensive ones, I believe, are just for looks. Yeah, they're just for looks. They don't change really the performance unless you widen them and stuff. And exhaust tips can only be installed if you have a sculpting. So we're going to sculpt this car a bit. Now, for games value and stuff, it only cares about the front bumper for the body kit. Now, since this is drag mode, you really don't want to induce a lot of lateral drag, so I'll do like 10%, maybe 20. And it's really cool how it shows in this version the I'm not sure the Wii version showed this, definitely not the DS version. It would show like this little jet of air, and then you just install it like that. You can also customize the hood, and it also even tells you sometimes the tooltip does not affect performance. Now, does this actually increase performance? That I'm actually curious about. I never actually experimented with roof scoops. I think they're cosmetic. Upgrading it will make the car more rigid. I don't think the roll cage actually really does anything in this game. Racing seats. I think this is cosmetic. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's doing anything. It's more of like a cosmetic option, I believe. I actually always wanted to test that. Let's do all wheels. Yeah, you can also change the looks of your wheels. They're much cheaper than, say, Most Wanted. Most Wanted sometimes would charge like 10,000 for this, and I'm like, what? But in this game, you can also customize the size of your rim in its various zones, make it look more interesting. Yeah, I definitely want really thick tires for the front because that's where the traction is. Oh, no, I don't want to sculpt that out. Well, maybe just a little bit. I'm not sure if that's a cosmetic effect, but if it helps with traction, I'm going to do it. Because why not? Alright, let's start putting these parts on. So, sometimes when you unlock parts, you get what's called owned. And that's what I'm going to put on. It only has a stage 1. So let's put on... Can I put on stage 3? No, I'm not going to waste the money. I'm just going to put stage 1 on. Now, it does have a stage 1 turbo. Kind of makes sense. Stage 1 suspension. Brakes don't really matter in drag mode. That could be saved for last, or if at all. Yeah, I'll just do stage 1. Now, the branding, I have not really determined if that actually matters in this game. I think it's just branding, but I could be wrong. I have not done enough tests to really confirm or deny if branding actually matters in this game. So, the last thing to do is let's tune the visuals. You can like do vinyls, paints, decals, wheel paint, and window tint. Just like most older Need for Speed titles. Some of them don't do that anymore, but they've gone back and made it better over time. Let's make it like a yellowish color. Now you can do some really funky colors too, like what's it, like outer scent, pearl scent, chrome, and candy, or gloss. Let's see if it looks nicer in a little thicker yellow. No, I don't like matte. Outer scent. Oh my goodness. Yeah, let's do pearl scent. Let's do like maximum weird. Let's just put a weird paint on. Eesh. Oh no, I don't want to cancel. I want to apply it. There we go. Yeah, let's just put that on there just to be funny. And then the tint, let's oh. I don't want it that dark. Let's see. Maybe make it like, yeah, make it like that and apply that there for the window tint. So, last thing we need to do before going into a race is to change up the engine. So we can tune our parts here in under tune, which is just below custom upgrade, and these are the various screens: suspension, engine, transmission, brakes, and all that. They do like by a slider bar. Now I don't know if I want higher or lower end torque. I'm going to try putting it towards the lower end of the scale just to see what happens. And then for boost, see here, I had to start either turbo, more boost, more power. So I don't know if like doing like lower start boost and higher end boost is better, or vice versa. Too much pressure. Yeah, I don't want too much pressure. And you want, let's see here, flow rate to be like that there. Yeah, usually with drag you want lower nitrous pressure and a little bit smidge higher flow rate, because the pressure is like horsepower and the flow rate is torque. You don't want to do too much at the starting line, so we'll do that there. And for gear ratios, let's make the final drive just a smidge taller. Just like that. And then to make sure you do all these changes, always make sure you scroll down to update blueprint and hit yes for active. What that does is it makes the that your blueprint, instead of like a pre-tuned one, you have your own there. So with that out of the way, I'm gonna stop it right here because I don't want to make this video too long. I'll continue this in part 2 of Pro Street. Hope you enjoyed this video. This is Rigsters Journey, signing off.